Welcome back to our final video on the argument series part 2. In this video we'll be wrapping up what the argument paragraph looks like as far as different ways to strengthen our argument paragraph and ways to make it overall stronger and give us a better understanding of why we write the way that we do. In this last video we're going to be talking about the specific rhetorical strategies, this concept that was introduced in our third video. And we talked about how there are three appeals to what a rhetorical strategy is. And again, rhetorical breaks down into the word rhetoric, and rhetoric is how you write. So rhetorical strategies, otherwise known as how you write strategies, right? So these are ways that you can, these are things that you can implement in your writing to make them stronger, them being your writing, to make your writing stronger and more appealing to your audience. And there are three different appeals. You might have heard these terms before, you might not have. Benefit is that's the point of this video. The three terms are ethos, pathos, and logos. Now, these are Greek terms, and we're going to break each one of them down as far as seeing what they mean, what their definition is, and a couple of examples or how you might see these used in a paper. The first of these is ethos. Now, ethos is a Greek term that ultimately means the word ethics. It's where we get, or rather, it's where we get our term ethics from, ethical. But ethos itself means character. It's where we get character from, it's where we get ethics from. The purpose of using ethos in a paper or a paragraph is establishing the author's credibility. This is what we're doing when we are telling our audience why they should listen to us. So, for example, we might write about, and ethos is in a lot of ways a little bit informal, because you would need to, if you're writing about yourself rather, it could be informal because you are talking about your particular credibility, so you have to use first person narrative. But if you're pulling from an outside source, then you can maintain that kind of formality because you are establishing that person's credibility. So, for example, informal. If you are talking about maybe, well, let's pull the Batman example again. Then you might say that I have extensively collected Batman comics for 10 years, and I can say without a shadow of a doubt that Batman is a hero, right? So here you have established that your, right, that you have extensively collected Batman comics for 10 years, and so you are an authority because you know everything there is to know about Batman. You have read all of his comics. That's a very informal way, but if you are debating with friends in Saga about uh, whether Batman's a hero or not, this is by all means a very good appeal to ethos. You're establishing your own credibility. You've collected Batman comics for 10 years. Something formal would be if you could grab a quote about Batman's character. Whether Batman is a hero or not, the whole thing about, yes, that's the whole quote, and then talking about how this quote is from Bill Finger, creator of the Batman comics. Now, this is a very formal approach to ethos, and this is a huge benefit to your argument if this particular argument existed, because Bill Finger should know whether Batman is a hero or not, because he's the artist who created Batman. So this is what an appeal to ethos is. Ethos, again, it means character. It's where we get our word ethics from, but the purpose of using it is to establish, again, I say the author's credibility. Ultimately, it can be establishing credibility, we'll say. And that might be the author's credibility. Say in an informal essay, absolutely, that's the author's credibility. For the formal, it would be establishing somebody else's credibility who is considered an authority on the topic, right? So this is ethos. The next one that we are talking about will be pathos. Now, pathos, come on now. Pathos is an appeal to emotion. It's a Greek term that is where we get our terms like empathy and pathetic from. But pathos is where we get emotional responses to. Emotions can be very powerful and can easily be manipulated to get people to join your side. Anybody ever see the those animal shelter videos that show all of the dogs and cats looking sad, with animals that look sad and left behind, and you have Sarah McLachlan singing Arms of the Angel in the background? You know the ones that I'm talking about. These are the commercials that make you want to go out and adopt 5 different animals that make you want to go out and save the world. You know the ones. These commercials, these videos, are appeals to pathos. They are trying to get a particular emotion out of you, one of empathy and one of sadness and one of caring, so that you go out and you act and you adopt an animal, or I think for a lot of these it's committing to donating a couple of dollars a day for X amount of time to help feed and care for these kinds of animals, but it all goes back to driving your emotions. Pathos is a super powerful appeal and one that can really inspire a lot of change and a lot of movement. It's one that can incite good emotions, bad emotions. A lot of political commercials are driven by pathos. They paint politicians in negative lights so that you're so angry at that politician, you're going to show him what for, and you're going to go out and vote for his opponent. Yeah, but you might not be able to tell what the opponent is actually doing or what the opponent stands for. But by golly, that commercial made you mad about the first guy. And so that's what an appeal to pathos can do, is that it drives your emotions. The third appeal to or rhetorical strategy is logos. Now, logos is a Greek term from which we get the word logic. What logos does, logos is in a lot of ways the opposite of pathos, because it is the appeal to the logical side of the brain. Logos is any kind of argument supported with facts, data, graphs, etc. All of these kind of, stone cold this, and this. And these are the kind of logos is the kind of argument or the kind of appeal that a lot of your teachers are going to want. And really, quite frankly, most of your arguments need to be grounded with logos. If you are truly passionate about a subject, you want to be able to support what you say with facts and with data and graphs and things of this nature. You want to be able to prove your point through things that are repeatable. It tends to be unbiased, but I want to be careful with that, because some facts and some data can be misrepresented or misinterpreted, and any kind of argument can be shaded with some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Some sort of bias, right? But logos tends to be more unbiased than, say, pathos. Pathos ultimately drives you to act based on your emotions, based on how you're feeling. Logos tends to drive your actions based on what facts and data or any kind of citation. If you're citing from a novel on a work of literature, then that is an appeal to logos. If you're pulling from text, right? So if you say that, this thing happened in Batman comic 45, page 72 of that comic. Sure, that's an appeal to logos because you are citing this thing. And so it's an appeal to logic. So these are the rhetorical strategies that, the three rhetorical strategies that can improve your writing. And again, these are ethos, which is where we get our words from character, and ethics, and that establishes credibility. Pathos, which is an appeal to emotion, and logos, which is an appeal to logic. These are three strategies that can ultimately improve your argument pieces because they appeal to different parts of what your audience might prefer or might respond to when they're reading your work.